rectification of the heart and how to start that journey, that spiritual journey of the heart back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so in our last class, mashallah, we had a phenomenal class last time, in which we went over certain aspects. We went over the title of the book. We went over who the author was, and then we read the introduction to the author that the author wrote as well. And so now we're moving on further into the book, and we're at a interesting section. The author of the book at this point, he writes tanbih. Tanbih. This section is a warning or just a side note that he wants to make us aware of. And the author, he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى, he says, القلب أساس الخير والشر وحياته وموته مفتاح النفع والضر فمن لا حياة لقلبه فلا حيلة في دفعه وجلبه وكل قلب هلته الحياة دعت إلى النهوض عند المذكرات. See, the Ahmed Zarruq rahimahullah, he says something very beautiful. And this is the main focus of today's class. You guys can pass these out so you can be comfortable, inshallah. Give them to Shukr, please. Please give some for the elders, inshallah, first. Father, shut up. So the author, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, very important introduction, because remember, the purpose of the text is to focus on the rectification of the heart and the qalb's ta'allaq ma'Allah ta'ala. And so he begins this section, this tanbih, this warning, or this these important words. He says, al-qalbu asasul khayri wa shar, that the primary focal point of good and evil is your heart. The primary asasul khayr wa shar is the qalb. The primary thing of good and evil is the heart. And he says, this is very important. He says, wa hayatuhu wa mawtuhu miftahu naf'i wa dharri. He says, in the life of your heart and the death of your heart is the key to either benefit or harm to you spiritually. What is he talking about? From the beginning of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about fi qulubihim marad, and hard hearts that get very sick. The author here is explaining that hearts can be either very alive or hearts can be dead. And he says the life of a heart or the death of the heart, huwa miftah, it is the key to bringing benefit to a person, and it's also the key to actually bringing harm to a person. Yani if the qalb is dead, if the heart is dead, then this is a very dangerous situation for this person spiritually, right? And he says, listen closely. He says, فَمَنْ لَا حَيَاةَ لِقَلْبِهِ, the person whose heart doesn't have any life anymore. فَلَا حِيلَةَ فِي دَفْعِهِ وَجَلْبِهِ, the heart, he can't bring any benefit into his life, and he can't, or she can't push away any harm. وَقُلُّ قَلْبٍ حَلَّتْهُ الْحَيَاةِ, every heart that still has some life in it, دَعَتْهُ إِلَى النُّهُوضِ عِنْدَ الْمُذَكَّرَاتِ. This is very important. He says, every heart that still has life inside of it, whenever it is reminded, it will call the person to do some type of movement. Nahava, nuhud means to move, right? To get up. So he says, if the heart still has hayat in it, when the tadhkira comes, what is the tadhkira? The reminder, right? When the reminder comes. So sometimes, guys, you're listening to a khutbah, right? You're listening to someone speak, and the words are just like hitting your heart. And when you get done with that khutbah, you're like, subhanallah, I gotta call up mom, yo. Maybe the khutbah was about, birrul walidain. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe whatever the focus on, it hits your heart and it wakes that heart up. So he says when the heart has life, a sign that the heart has life is that when the mudhakkirat come to it, da'at al-shakhs ila al-nuhud. It causes the person to actually make some type of movement. And so what he's actually highlighting is that one of the signs that the heart is dead, and he'll bring this up later, one of the signs that the heart is dead is when there's the tadhkirah does nothing to it. When the reminder just hits it and it doesn't do anything, then this is a very, very bad sign that the heart is starting to die. So this is his introduction. He says, the key to good and evil is that your heart is alive, and the key to evil is that the heart starts to die. And that's why right in the beginning of the Quran, Allah says, فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٍ. They have sicknesses in their heart. And if sickness is left untreated, then it can lead to terminal illness and it can cause death. And so that's what the author is indicating here, that one of the most muhim and important things that we need to be worried about is the hayat of our qalb, the life of our heart. Is our heart still alive? And does it have that feeling, ihsas? He says, al-qulub thalathatun. This is very important. He says, al-qulub thalatha. He says there are 3 types of hearts. Pay close attention to this. This is beautiful, beautiful. The way that Sidi Ahmad Zarruq wrote these words about the spirituality of the heart and having sound souls is very beautiful. He says, al-qulubu thalathatun. There are 3 types of hearts. How many? 3. أولها قلب في حياته صحيح وفي خطابه فصيح فصاحبه ينطق بالحكمة وينهض في كل ملمة. He says the first heart number 1. قلب في حياته صحيح. The person whose heart is perfectly healthy. I mean, this is like the person who's like jogging in the morning every day, doing yoga, stretching, perfect health, no problem. You know, no problem whatsoever. He says, hayatuhu sahihun. The life is sound. Wa khitabuhu fasih. He says, and when the person speaks, it's very clear, very sound, and they're not scattered when they speak. This is important because what we learn, al-lisan tarjumanul qalb. They say in Arabic that the tongue is the interpreter of the heart. So whatever is in the heart, you'll find the person always talking about those things. If there's confusion in the heart, a lot of the confusion, when you hear the person talk, you're like, yo, you're all over the place. But when the heart is sound, then he says that when the heart is sound, then the tongue is straight. And when the tongue is straight, you can hear that this person's heart is very at peace and it's very sound. But when the heart is dead, you talk to that person, you're like, subhanAllah, what are you talking about? Ajib things. Or when the heart is not healthy or confused, you can hear that on the tongue. So he says, فَصَاحِبُهُ يَنْتِقُ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَيَنْهَدُ فِي كُلِّ مُلِمَّةِ. And here's the other thing. When the heart is sound, يَنْهَدُ فِي كُلِّ مُلِمَّةِ, the person rises or responds appropriately to every situation. What he's saying here is that when the heart is sound, the response to situations, the person responds as they're supposed to respond. Not in an imbalanced way. Like sometimes you'll see someone, it can be the smallest thing, someone upset them, something happened, and the way they respond, they blow up. And you're like, subhanAllah, that didn't cause for that type of response. What happened? What's going on? He says because the heart isn't sound, there's something wrong. When the heart is sound, the person responds accordingly, يَنْهَدُ فِي كُلِّ مُهِمَّةِ, the way it should stand up to every situation. This is the first heart. Which heart is this? Hayatuhu sahihun. The life in this heart is sound. It's a healthy heart. Like I said, it's the jogging every morning, 6 a.m. I'm doing the yoga, all that in the gym. It's healthy, very healthy. SubhanAllah. Wathani, number 2. Qalbun la hayata fihi. Number 2, the heart has no life whatsoever. فَهُوَ لَا يَقْبِلُ التَّذْكِيرِ. It doesn't take any reminder. It doesn't take any reminder. What that means is, remember, the message that the Prophet ﷺ brought, we consider that dhikra. It was a reminder for our hearts. When we sit in gatherings like this, when we read books like these are reminders for our hearts. But what he says is when the heart dies, what happened is that the heart becomes so hard that now it doesn't accept any tadhkirah. It doesn't take any reminder. And so that's a very dangerous state. He says, فَهُوَ لَا يَقْبُلُ التَّذْكِيرِ وَلَا تَنْبِيهِ. It doesn't take any warning either. You tell like, yo, bro, I think you, like, yo, stop talking to me, man. Man, you always talking about Allah and the deen and stuff. Can you stop, please? Bro, like, I don't want to hear it anymore. Like, the person is just cut off completely. They don't want to hear any more of that reminder. Now that them not wanting to hear it may be another reason as well, and we'll look at that at the very next heart as well, inshallah. He says, this heart does not accept any reminder. This heart does not accept any warning. He says, فضلا عن اتباع الحق وتأدب مع الخلق. He's like, far be it from ever following the haqq, following the truth, following what is revealed. Following is a far thing from it. It doesn't even take the reminder. And this is the heart that is dead. This is the heart that is dead. It has no feeling whatsoever. The heart has died. And number three, he says, قلب اعترته في حياته أمراض. This is where most of us lie, brothers and sisters. He says number three is the heart that it occasionally has moments of sickness. Like there comes up moments where there's amrad, sicknesses. And he says, وصحبته في أحوال اعتراضات والأعراض فعرض له الإعراض مما عرض وهو الذي يتعلم عند ذكر ما به من المرض. He says this is the heart, brothers and sisters, that it occasionally is healthy and it occasionally is sick. It goes through different phases. Sometimes it's not feeling good, sometimes it's feeling great, sometimes it's feeling bad, sometimes it's feeling awesome. But he says, here's the thing. He says, وهو الذي يتعلم عند ذكر مرضه. It is the heart that feels pain when its own sickness is mentioned. What does that mean? That means sometimes someone's talking about arrogance, or someone's talking about an anger problem, someone's talking about different sicknesses of the heart, greed, anger, all of these things, and when this person hears it, it hurts them. Like, man, why do I have this? يَتَأَلَّمُ عِنْدَ ذِكْرِهِ. So when they hear about it, they start to get pain from that. And so remember when I said sometimes people don't want to hear the reminder, right? Remember I said there are sometimes people like, yo, I don't want to hear it. What you have to understand is sometimes people don't want to hear it either because the heart is already dead or because of what? Their heart isn't dead, but when they hear about it, it hurts too much. It hurts too much. I don't want to hear it. Don't talk about my relationship with my mom. I don't want to hear it. So he says this is the second heart. It actually feels pain when the sickness that it has is mentioned. And this is actually a good sign, right? To still have feeling is a sign that the skin cells, or those cells are still alive. When those become callous, they lose all feeling in it. I was talking to a friend of mine who was training in Muay Thai, right? And he was like, one of the key things that my teacher had to do was kill the feeling in my shins, so that I would be able to strike people without being hurt myself. And so basically he had to kill all of those receptors there so that there's no feeling anymore. And so what he's trying to highlight here is that when there's feeling, there's still life. When there's feeling, there's still life. So if you get pained by hearing some of the sicknesses, that's actually a good sign. Because it shows that you still have life. You're not at the point where, oh, it doesn't hurt me, I can hear anything, it doesn't affect me whatsoever. Fahimtum, everyone? Is it clear? Tayyib. Do you saw any questions about what we covered so far? Everyone got all three? Tayyib? Now look what he says next. وَهُوَ الَّذِي يُقْصَدُ بِالْمُدَاوَاتِ. He says this is the heart that can be cured through treatment. So this is what this book is about. This book is all about treating the heart. Recognizing that I'm sick and treating the heart. And he says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي يُقْصَدُ بِالْمُدَاوَاتِ. This is the heart that can be cured or is intended through this treatment that he's giving. يُقْصَدُ بِالْمُدَاوَاتِ وَيُرْصَدُ بِالْمُعَانَاتِ. And it can be supported with help. رَجَاء إِسْتِقَامَةِ حَيَاةِ. And there is hope that it will lean towards being more healthy. Or at least, listen, it will become healthy, or يَتَوَقَّفُ الْعِلَّةِ, or at least the sickness won't continue to spread. See, here's the deal when it comes to spiritual sicknesses. Like any other sicknesses, like cancers or anything else, one thing is about containing it. We don't want it to keep spreading. And so when you get these spiritual sicknesses, it's very similar. It's the same thing. When you get these spiritual sicknesses, it's the same thing. Which means that either we want to get rid of it completely, or the first thing we actually want to do is just contain it, so it doesn't spread to the rest of your heart in other places. And so that's why he says that raja istiqamat al-hayat, we can treat it, or yatawaqqafu al-illa hatta la tuaddi ila al-mamat. We can stop the sickness so it doesn't lead to mamatul qalb. Does everyone understand what he's saying here? The heart is sick. If we don't treat it, the heart will eventually die. And it will be that heart that doesn't take any reminder. And so he says by treating the heart, we're either getting rid of that disease, or if we're not able to get rid of it, we're actually just stopping it and controlling it so it doesn't lead further to the death of this person's heart. Make sense? Khair. So he says, وَلَهُ فِي ذَلِكَ وُجُوهٍ ثَلَاثٍ يَتَرَتَّبُ عَلَيْهِ نَفْيُ مَا فِيهِ ثَلَاثُهُ. He says, now when we look at this third type of heart, which type of heart is this one? Which type of heart is the third one?
One that's been contained.
The one, not yet. It's not contained yet.
It has moments of sickness.
It has moments of sickness. It's not always sick. It's not always sick. It has moments when it feels good and moments when sickness. Is there anyone here who hasn't understood what it means to have a sick heart yet? Let's give some examples, because it seems like everyone's like, well, how does this connect to me? You have to understand, like, okay, let's look at something like anger, right? So anger, if it's not controlled, can be a sickness of the heart. Ghadab or hiqt. You know what we call people haters? No, for real. You call somebody a hater. What's a hater? Like everybody they look at, they're like, what's she wearing? That don't even match. Like she didn't even do nothing to you. Why are you hating on her? You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain people we call them haters. You know what I mean, right? But you a hater, yeah? Okay, cool. What's a hater? A hater is someone who has this hatred. They look at people and they're always finding faults in people, right? Why does a person do that? Well, the reason is because there's a sickness in the heart. We call that a spiritual sickness. And the fact that you keep mentioning people's shortcomings is a symptom of the sickness. Let me give you another one. Ghiba. Let's look at ghiba, right? Every time somebody walks in, you know, I lean over to Mubarak. I'm like, yo, that dude right there, man. Whew, you don't even want to know what he be up to, right? Well, why? Now that's a symptom. That sin you see, that's a symptom. But it's caused by what? What's a disease that causes backbiting? Name one. Name one disease you think that causes backbiting.
Jealousy.
Exactly. Jealousy. Hasad. Hasad is a major da'ul qalbi. Major da'ul qalb. A major sickness of the heart. And guess what? If left untreated, it will kill the spiritual health of your heart. So what you have to understand is when we see certain actions being done, we actually have to realize that there's a spiritual sickness behind that. There's a spiritual sickness behind that. Like, let's look at the concept of shukr. You see someone, whenever they get something, they like, Jazakallah, man, thank you so much. You do something small, they're so pleased with that. What is one of the spiritual healthy aspects behind that is rida or qana'ah, to be satisfied with whatever you get. Contentment. We have the sicknesses of the heart, and we have the opposite, which is the healthy state. And so when you see someone complaining a lot, now we actually have to target what is the sickness behind those complaints. Does everyone understand the relevance of this? Because you're like, well, why can't I, whatever the sin may be, you name a sin. This is the sin I have problems of. And you come to the sheikh, you're like, sheikh, I have a problem with this sin. Well, if the sheikh is skilled with the heart, he's going to actually try to pull you back and say, well, what is causing that? Let me give you a better example. Everyone, let's use a different case study. Here's the case study. Iblis. Everyone knows the story of Iblis, right? Iblis was with the high angels. He was close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Iblis to prostrate to Adam. We all know the story. What is the action that Iblis did not do? Clearly, very simple. Sunday school, y'all. What is the action that Iblis did not do? He didn't prostrate to Adam. Now, that's an action. That, in our terminology, is going to be a symptom of something deeper. It's going to be what? A symptom of something deeper. That action is actually showing something deeper inside. Now, what is the disease, the root disease that is causing this symptom of not listening to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What did you say it is? Takabbur. So she says takabbur, which means arrogance. What else could it be? Jealousy. So pride and jealousy. Now the arbab al-qulub, the scholars of this science, they say like which one comes first, arrogance or jealousy? Wallahu alam, it's a difference of opinion. There's no set one. But the point is that for sure, the thing causing him not to do that, but what did he say is the reason? He said, Ana khayrun min, khalaqtani min nar. I'm better than him. You created me from fire, you created him from dirt. I'm more noble, I'm higher. Right? Fire rises up. Dirt falls down naturally. So dirt is lower, I'm higher. So I'm better. He said that. But that wasn't the true illah, that wasn't the true illah, that wasn't the true cause behind the action. What's the true cause? Either jealousy. Why did Allah create him? I've been worshiping all this time. Or is kibr. Why am I going to prostrate to him? Who is he? I am me. Why would I prostrate to him? So I need everyone to understand, why is he talking about the heart this way? Because you need to learn how to recognize, you need to learn how to take your pulse. Do you get what I mean by that? You need to learn how to take your pulse. You need to know how to realize, Mikaeel, you have a lot of jealousy in your heart right now. Okay, all right, you know what I'm going to start doing? Okay, I got to do this. Right now, let's give a practical example. If I start to notice that I have jealousy, what is a treatment for that now? Give me one treatment for jealousy. Who knows one treatment? Just imagine. Remember, it has to be something that goes against jealousy. So take someone that you're jealous of. That's going to be hard for you to do anyway, because I ain't jealous of her. And that's the whole thing. You don't even realize the disease. Your best friend will tell you who you're jealous of. But you yourself, you're like, I'm not jealous of that person. I just don't like them. They got a bad attitude. Like, no, you're jealous. So take someone you're jealous of. Now, what is the cure? How will we start to treat that jealousy? Mubarak, give me one way. He said, and this is actually one way, you start to make dua for the person. What? Y'all know how hard that is? You take the person who just got your promotion, the dude that just got the promotion that you should have got, but because you ain't, whatever reason you think it is, whatever it may be, and you now make dua, oh Allah, give them a better promotion. Do you know how hard that is? What's another treatment?
Say MashaAllah.
Say MashaAllah. Okay, so what do you mean when you say that? What does MashaAllah mean? If I see this person just got a new car, like I just see this person just got married to the one I was plotting on getting married to. So how does MashaAllah directly fight against that jealousy inside?
So you're basically telling yourself that, I'm happy with you.
Okay, if that's the case, cool. That's a treatment. But you know what? I need an action item. I need something I'm going to physically do to negate this feeling inside. An action, some action. You know what else they say you do? Give that person a gift. Start giving them random gifts. So, you'll realize how hard this is. The point, brothers and sisters, I'm not going to focus on jealousy. What I want you to realize is that when we talk about refraining from sin, refraining from ghibah, going to the masjid, being attached to the Quran, whatever good things we talk about, our inability to do the good, and our inability to stay away from the evil is due to amrad, sicknesses in the heart. And once we're able to isolate and realize what those amrad or sicknesses are, we're able to then treat those sicknesses. Okay? Yes.
So what are the sources of these sicknesses? Because I assume everyone is born with a pure heart.
No, what are the sources of them? We naturally have the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the question is, what are the sources of these sicknesses? And the sources is the natural creation of human beings with different desires in the shayateen that are with us as well. So we have the nafs inside of us. In the nafs al-ammara bisu, the nafs is that inner desire inside of you that just wants. Let me give you an example. You know, you notice that when you have a 3 or 4 year old child, right? We were just talking about, me and one of the sisters earlier, we were talking about jealousy. And you notice children, when a new baby comes, what happens? When a new baby comes and the attention goes to the new baby, what sickness of the heart do we see come out? Jealousy. So now you ask me where that came from. I say it's naturally inside the human disposition, but what we're supposed to do is elevate ourselves above that and get rid of it. Do you understand? It's naturally in there. It's naturally in there. But here's the deal. Some of us are afflicted with certain sicknesses or a preponderance of certain sicknesses than others. You can even say it's kind of genetic. It's kind of like in there. Do you understand? Just like some people are more prone to addiction than others. Right? So similarly, that like hased is something that's in there. Anger is something that's in there. I have toddlers. I see anger, like rage. They can't do nothing, but I see anger and rage inside of them. That's a sickness that has to be cured out of the heart. That's why Allah says, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. That you have to come back to Allah with a clean heart. And that's what we're learning here, is how to clean those things out of the heart. But what I need all of you to understand is this is not some abstract thing. This thing directly affects your relationships with people and the actions that you do. Directly. Because you're learning what are the symptom or the base causes behind the actions that you're doing, and you're treating those primary causes. Yes?
So, we know from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that like, when we think of something wrong to do, but we refrain,
Yes.
it's actually a reward.
Yes.
So, does that point to, even though there wasn't a symptom, like an action, does that point to still a sickness?
Yes, it does. Very good point. The question is this, that let's say I got a perverted thought in my head, right? And I didn't do anything, but it came and I was like, astaghfirullah. Now, I'm happy I got reward for not doing it, but I'm still worried, why is this coming to me? And how do I treat it? Because I don't want to walk around with that mental imagery in my head. That's not healthy for me. That's a sign of something wrong. Do you get what I mean? So there was no sin. That's a beautiful example. Did all the sisters hear what he said? I got the thought. I didn't do it, so I got a good deed. But the question is, where's the root thought coming from? And how do I break that root thought? If it's a negative thought, that has to be there. That's there. Yes. We have to go forward too, so I'll take one more question and we'll go forward, inshallah.
So I heard a similar hadith in which a Sahabi came to Rasulullah. He said that sometimes I have thoughts that, that I wouldn't even imagine of having them. I wouldn't imagine taking action on them. So he said, and so the Prophet said that is a sign of Iman.
That is sarih al-iman, yes.
Yeah, so that's a sign of Iman itself. So
what is though?
So
when the Prophet said that is
not acting upon it. Right?
You sure? Or is it the fact that you disliked it? What is the sign of Iman? Well, that's the whole point. The hadith is basically indicating that it is normal for us, those thoughts to come, but the fact that you disliked it shows that you have Iman. Okay, let's go forward. He says, وَلَهُ, does everyone understand? Are we all good? Everyone good? Alright, check this. He says, وَلَهُ فِي ذَلِكَ وُجُوهِ الثَّلَاثَةِ يَتَرَتَّبُ عَلَيْهَا نَفْيُ مَا فِيهِ وَثَبَاتُهُ. He says the third heart. Which heart was this? The heart that gets sick sometime and healthy sometimes. He says this third heart will have 3 different states that it goes through. Number 1, he says, أولها أن تكون الحياة غالبة عليه والمرض تابع وهذا سهل الأمر قريب الواقع. He says the first type of this third heart is something where the healthiness of the heart, the healthiness of the heart is asal, it's strongest, it's preponderant, and the sickness is very, very secondary. The example is like asthma. No, seriously, it's like asthma. You know how some people, I know some people got really bad asthma, but normally it's just like very, like you can get on with life. Normally speaking, people that have asthma, they just get on with life. It's just like, yeah, I keep the little thing in my car somewhere, but for the most part, I'm good. So their health is more preponderant than the sickness. The sickness is there. It doesn't go anywhere. They always got that squeezy thing, right? Whatever it's called. What an inhaler? Whatever, guys. I'm not a doctor, okay? I'm doing doctor of the heart stuff, not physical, all right? You guys are the specialists, all right? What's it called, man? Inhaler. Thank you. All right, cool. But they got some extra special name for it, too. Is it just inhaler? Okay, cool. All right. So the inhaler. Look, so what does he say? Hayatuhu ghalib. The healthiness of this heart is ghalib. It's preponderant. It's like that person. They can get around. They can do things. They're fine. It doesn't get in their way. But every now and then, they get short of breath and they have to take it. So the sickness is secondary and very, very minimal. He says this person, sahlul amr, qareebul waqi'. He says this person is easy to take care of. This heart is easy to cure because they're more healthy than sick. Number 2, he says الثاني المرض الغالب والحياة ضعيفة وهذا من عوارض المخيفة. عوارض المخيفة. Subhanallah. He says the second one is that the marad, the sickness, is preponderant. And the hayat, the life, is very weak. This person's hayat, the iman, is very weak. The sickness has overpowered them. And he says, وَهَذَا مِنْ عَرَضَ الْمَخِيفَةِ. He's like, this one is عَرَض الْمَخِيفَة means like terminal illness. This is terminal illness. This person's heart is almost at the second heart. Remember the second heart, right? The second heart had no life. He's like, this person is very close to that. والثالث أن يتكافأ السقم والصحة بوجه يمكن تقوية أحدهما معه وهو كالذي قبله أو بوجه لا يمكن ذلك وهي علة معضلة. He says the third type of heart is when the sickness and the health are both equal. And on any given day, in any given situation, one can be given strength over the other. So this person's health and this person's sickness are both equal. They're at the same level. And يُمْكِنُ تَقْوِيَةَ أَحَدِهِمَا. If they just sit in the bad company, the sickness goes higher. If they sit in good company, the healthy goes higher. Like they're literally right at par with one another. And depending on the environment that they place themselves in, one of the two will happen. The sickness will become stronger, or he says this one is also very, very dangerous because obviously they're walking on thin ice. They're walking on very thin ice, and they need to be careful about that. فهمتم inshallah? Al-ruju. Now the next section. So what did he just do in this section? He basically highlighted the different types of hearts, okay? And now, in this next section that's coming, he's going to now start to show you signs of how we analyze these hearts. Now listen, as I'm teaching this to you, what I need you to understand is as you get deeper knowledge, you will begin to see people on a deeper level, okay? Like, when people start backbiting, now your mind's going to be like, yeah, hasad. Right? Like you're gonna start, it's just like a doctor, I don't know, we all see the same Facebook stuff, so I'm sure y'all saw it. It's like the doctor who saw the thing in the throat, like of someone on news, and they're like a doctor notices things about people that we're not noticing, right? And they can't help but see those things, right? So similarly, once you start to read this stuff, and I'm just giving you a warning, once you start to read this stuff, you're gonna start to be aware on a deeper level. But make sure you use this for your own self. The purpose of it isn't to sit there and be scoping people out like, oh, Joe, check this. I got this person mapped right now, yo. No, that's not the purpose. The purpose is not to investigate everyone else and understand what terminal illnesses they have in their heart. The primary purpose of me teaching you this is not for you to investigate everyone else, but rather for you to be able to self-diagnose yourself and be able to see what's going wrong inside of you. All right? All right, so here we go. He says, ثُمَّ وُجُوهُ الْحَيَاةِ وَثَبَاتُهُ يَظْهَرُ بِأَحْدِ ثَلَاثِ الْأُمُورِ. He says, then, that life, now we said, there's 3 types of life, correct? Life is stronger, life is weaker, life and sickness are equal. He says that you will notice the level of life based on three things. There are three things that will determine the level of this person's life in their heart. There are three things you're going to analyze and look at. They will have direct impact. He says, وَيُتَعَرَّفُ بِهَا الْخَفَاءُ وَالظُّهُورُ. Based on these things being present, it will affect this sickness being apparent or not being apparent, right? The sickness being out there openly or just being benign, just inside, but just not expressing itself. Number one, he says, الأولها الأرض البادي ووزانه من غردنا أفعال الجوارح. He says the first thing that you'll be able to diagnose spiritual sicknesses is by the external actions of the person. The external actions. So what that means is, let's use the case study we used. What was the case study? Who was it? Iblis, Shaitan. And in that, what was the external action that took place? Huh?
Refusal to prostrate.
He refused to prostrate. So he says the first thing we're going to use to analyze or diagnose the healthiness or the sickness of the heart is the external action. So let's take a positive thing. If you find yourself easily able to give sadaqah, right? You walk past the box and you're easily able to give sadaqah, right? You just here you go, you drop it. What is that? That's an external action which is indicative of a deeper not disease, but good thing, life in the heart that is causing that to happen. So what he's explaining here is the first thing that we're going to simply look at, we're simply going to look at the external actions that we're doing. This is why a lot of people try to say like, oh, my iman is in my heart, and I'm a great Muslim. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. They like at the club chilling. They're like, yeah, but I'm Muslim. My heart is good. No. External actions are telling us a lot about what's inside the heart. Right? External actions are very indicative of what's going on inner. So the very first thing he says we're going to look at, al-arabul badi, the external state, what's going on. Does everyone understand the first one? Number two, he says, الثاني السبب الأصلي ووزانه حركات القلوب. He says the second one is the set of causes that lead to the sickness. That's the next thing. And what he says, the way we're going to look at this is harakatul qulub, the movements of the heart. Now, I know this is where everyone's like, oh, you just got too abstract for me. I need like practical. I don't know what you're talking about. My heart doesn't move, it just beats. Right? No, what do you call it? Movement of the harakatul qulub. Harakatul qulub. Right? No, listen. What that means is this. Okay, when you spend more time away from like devices and by yourself, you can start to notice when your heart goes somewhere, when your heart thinks something, when your mind thinks something. So let's use the example of the jealous sister, right? Just example, right? The sister, your girlfriend that's sitting next to you, not your girlfriend, her girlfriend, right? Her girlfriend, not his, your girlfriend sitting next to you, and she didn't say, oh, look at that girl. She didn't say that yet, because then that would be arabul badi, right? That would be an external deed. But she thought it for a moment, or you thought it for a moment. Do you understand? That movement of the heart right there, when you thought the dude walked in and you were like, that dude right there. Like you didn't say it, but you thought, that's harakatul qulub. That's harakat. Now all of us can recognize those things. You know when your heart just moved. You know when your heart just got angry. You know when your heart felt contentment, felt gratitude. That's harakatul qulub. So what he says in the second symptom, or the second thing we're going to analyze to know what is the disease, are the movements of the heart. And that's going to take sometimes a psychologist that's literally just talking to you, or you talking about your thoughts. What were your thoughts when they walked in the room? What were your thoughts when that person said this? What were your thoughts when your father said da 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 da? You're like, I got angry. Ah, man, that was the movement of the heart. But were you able to recognize that anger moving? That's harakatul qulub. Yes? No? Harakatul qulub, the movements of the heart. Does everyone understand that one? I don't want any of this abstract. Listen, I don't want anyone getting up from here like, yeah, that was cool, he spoke, I understood, but what's the practical implications of that? All of our classes need to have practical implications. So I really need everyone to really grasp onto all these concepts. Now, before I go deeper on this second one, it is said that this one is a higher level ability to assess. So the external actions are very easy to assess, but the movement of the heart is a little harder to assess. And it takes people that are more specialists to be able to kind of like pull out those movements of the heart for you, unless you can pull it out for yourself. Does everyone understand the second one? Cool? All right, number 3. الثالث المواد الموصلة ووزانه ما تحنو إليه النفس. The third thing is we're going to look at what your nafs is inclining to. What your nafs is inclining to. What yourself is inclining to. What do you give preference to over other things? وَتَجْنَأُ لَهُ بِالْإِخْتِيَارِ. When you have a choice, which way do you go? If you had a choice to come to the halaqah or go out, watch Joker, which one did you do? Right? Y'all are here, but not everybody, right? So which one did you choose when you're giving that choice? So which way does the heart lean? The inclinations of the heart are the second thing that we're going to analyze when we're trying to assess and see what is the primary thing that is the sickness behind all of what's going on. Does everyone understand? All right. So he goes forward. He says, but how do I assess this myself? Like, let's make this practical. When I have two choices, like I can do this or do that, you need to be able to say, what does this choice that I make indicate regarding the state of my heart? Do you get what I'm saying? When I have two choices, like I can either turn the Quran on or turn something else on. I can either, call up my pops or call up someone you shouldn't call. Like I have choices in life, right? When those choices come up, which thing I choose is indicative of a deeper state of my heart. So, but you need to be able to analyze the choices that you've made throughout the day. And then, when you analyze them, what I mean by that is study what they're indicative of. They will tell you something about who you are and what you're giving preference to. Yes?
Is the fact that there is another choice, for example, like calling your dad versus someone else, is the fact that there is another choice other than calling your dad indicative of anything, or is it like normal?
I think it's normal that you have two different things we can do. That's normal. But what's healthy is you called your mom or you called your dad and you checked up on them, not that you called someone you weren't supposed to, or you, again, you have to look at the choices that you're given and seeing here's the deal. How can I explain? The best way to understand it is I'm trying to isolate and find out what it is that my heart, is inclined to, because that will tell me about what's causing me to have this arrogance and have these diseases and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to analyze myself. I'm trying to study my heart and see what are the decisions I'm making that can give me further insight into who I am and what my state of my heart is. Right? And that's based on analyzing the decisions and the inclinations of the heart. So let me recap these real quick. Number 1 thing we're going to study is the external actions. Very important. We can look at those and tell something about the heart. Number 2 thing that we're going to study is going to be what? The movements of the heart. The actual thoughts and feelings that take place inside of your heart. We're going to analyze those. And why am I thinking that? That's a messed up thought. What is that indicative of? And number 3 thing we're going to analyze are the inclinations that we have. What are the things I'm inclined to and my heart leans towards wanting to do? These are the things that are also going to be indicative of the state of my heart and the life in my heart and so on and so forth. He says, وَذَلِكَ مَجْمُوعٌ فِي كَلَامِ إمام أبي الحسن الشاذلي رحمه الله حيث قال عمي البصيرة في 3 الأشياء إرسال الجوارح في معاصي الله وتصنع بطاعة الله والطمع في خلق الله فمن ادعى البصيرة مع واحد من هذه فهو عبد مفتن كذاب. He says all of these 3 things can be found in the statement of Abu Hassan al-Shadili when he said, rahimahullah, Amya al-Basira, the blindness of the Basira can be found in 3 things. Letting the limbs go freely into sin, doing actions, doing obedience, acts of obedience just to show off, number 2. And number 3, طمع في خلق الله تعالى, having طمع, covetousness, regarding what other people have. Let's talk about this statement. He said, the blindness of the basira. I want to talk about this for a moment. So when we look at this concept of basira, there are 2 things that a person have. They have basar, which is the eyesight, and they have basira, which is how the heart sees, how the heart looks at things. And basira is this inner type of sight. And so what happens is when the heart is clean or pure, then it sees things as they are according to Allah and the Prophet. Let me give an example. Let me give a really good example of this one. There's a dua, Oh Allah, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqq wa zuqna ittiba' wa arina al-batila batila wa zuqna ijtinaba min. Oh Allah, let me see truth as truth and give me the ability to follow it, and let me see batil as batil, falsehood as falsehood, and give me the ability to stay away. I need you to really understand this dua, because if you don't understand this dua, you won't get this concept of basira, and we'll end after this, inshallah. Look, oh Allah, give me the ability to see truth as truth, and then give me the ability to follow it. So what's the first thing we're asking Allah the ability to do? See truth as truth. What does that indicate to? What is the inverse meaning of that? That we often can see truth as falsehood. We often can visualize or see truth as a type of falsehood. And if you see truth as falsehood, how could you ever follow it, because it looks like falsehood to you? Does everyone understand that point? Let me give you a practical example. And I may have given this example before, but it fits perfect for this scenario. If you like fried foods, right? Fried foods. If you like fried foods, like, I like fried chicken. Alright? Why y'all laughing? What's so funny? What's so funny? Dang, yo. I was setting that up. I expected you to laugh. So if I like fried chicken, right? Now listen closely. When I smell fried food, when my mother's cooking fried food in the house, what naturally happens when I walk in the door? My mouth begins to water right away. Just the smell of it. Now check this. Have you ever been extremely sick with the flu or something and smelt the favorite food you love the most? What does it make you feel like doing? Puking, not eating. You feel like even throwing up. It smells horrible. I don't even want to smell that. You familiar with that scenario? That a person's sick, smelling that food is just like, get it out of my face. Why? Now here's the thing. Imam Ghazali, he says that honey will taste sweet when the person is healthy, but if someone has some type of sickness, even honey can taste bitter to them. Even honey can taste. So listen, when the basira is correct, when the heart's basira is correct, arina al-haqqa haqq, it sees truth as truth. And it sees falsehood as falsehood. But when the basira begins to get blind, or when it gets cataract at least, then what happens is the haqq begins to look like falsehood. And this is when the basira becomes blind. And this is what hits us millennials like crazy. The truth doesn't look like truth anymore. And the falsehood looks real good, yo. The falsehood starts to make a lot of sense to me. And so what he's talking about is this, when the haqq, when your inner heart sight lines up with what is true. This is called, you have basira, you have this inner sight. And that's why we make this dua, oh Allah, let me see truth as truth. I want that ability inside of me. And protect me from seeing falsehood as truth. The second thing is give me the ability to follow. You can only follow after you see it as truth, and you can only stay away after you see it as falsehood. So here he says, the blinding of the basira happens from 3 things. Number 1, allowing your limbs to just be free in sin. It will blind your basira. You will stop seeing truth as truth. Number 2, tasannu' fi ta'atillah. You will stop seeing truth as truth when you just start performing works of action, works of ibadah, just to show off. Like you just do it so people can see you. That's number 2. And number 3, at-tama'u fi khalqillah. This is huge. To be covetous of what other people have. like to desire what other people have. This is a major problem that we deal with. We see so much of what people have, and I talked about it very briefly in the khutbah today. But the idea is that the Prophet ﷺ taught us to look at those who have less, so that we don't create this covetousness inside of us, but rather we create this feeling of gratitude for the blessings that we have. But he says these three things, what are they? Number one, just letting your limbs loose, it'll blind your basira. Number two, you're doing ibadah, but you do it to show off, it'll blind your basira. And number three, you have desire for what everyone has, it'll blind your basira. These three things will throw off your basira. The basira won't be seeing correctly. And the basira is just how the qalb sees things. The basira is just how the qalb sees things. Allah give us tawfiq. And Imam Sidi Ahmed Zarruq, he says, وَهُوَ عَيْنَ الْحَقِيقَةِ وَفَصْلَ الْخِطَابِ. He says this is the truth and in a clear statement. Okay, the next section, I'm just going to introduce it and then we'll stop for questions, inshallah. The next section, he begins to talk about healing or treating the simple heart. He talks about al-qalb as-sadij, a very simple heart that gets sicknesses. He talks in this next section about how to begin to cure that heart. What are some things that may pop up as you start to cure that heart? And we'll do that for our next session, inshallah ta'ala. In the next section, we will literally start the section that says فَصْلٌ فِي إِعْلَاجِ الْقَلْبِ. How do you start curing? Because up till now, we haven't talked about like what are the treatments. What I wanted you to actually do by the end of today's dars is be able to start to identify things inside of yourself through these lessons. Once you're able to identify, then next lesson you'll be like, okay, I've identified I got jealousy. I've identified I have hasad. I identified I got these things inside. And the next class now we begin to talk about the way and the methodology for healing those things, inshallah ta'ala. So inshallah, I'm going to stop here, inshallah, but then we'll open it up for questions if anyone has questions regarding the content that we were covering today. I know it's dense stuff, but Sunday school is over, man. I mean, Sunday school is done. And you know the 5 pillars, man. Y'all been doing that enough. So I'm trying to take you to the next level and reach some higher level spirituality, because this is the stuff that has a lot of benefit for your practical connection with the deen, right? And so, that's why it's dense stuff. I understand it's dense. But the objective of it is to raise your understanding on a deeper level, inshallah. Yeah.
How do you know when your normal goal setting has become Tama? Because like you want to be, not like rich, but you want to be comfortable, you want a nicer car. When does that become Tama? Like a bad thing?
I think Tama should be more looked at as the point I'm not content with what I have. So, I mean, I think what we learn is there's this, the ideal objective the Muslim should be striving for is contentment. So it's not what's in your hand, it's what's in your heart. Do you understand what I mean by that statement? And so you have to make sure that that nice car is not in your heart. You get what I mean by that? I hope that's not abstract for you. Because contentment is what should be in your heart. Like whatever, I'm on a bike right now, cool, I'm good, yo. I'm on a little scooter joints outside, or I'm good, right? Contentment. But I always strive for more, but whatever I have now, I'm also content with it. And I know that may sound like a paradox, but it's not. It's just about not letting it. So listen, let me give the example. One of the scholars say the example of the dunya and the nafs, or the heart, is like a boat on water. When the boat is on top of the water, it'll get to its objective. The water is the dunya, the boat is your heart. But when the water gets into the boat, it's about to sink. Do you understand? Use the water. Use the car. Get the Tesla if you want. But just make sure it's not in your heart. But how do you know if it's in your heart or not? If when you lose it, it hurts or not. You get that point? Let that sit for a moment. You feel me on that one? If it hurts you when you lose it, that's a sign whether it was in your heart or not. Because if you were asked to spend that for the sake of Allah, you would have had trouble doing it. Because it hurts too much to give it. It was in your heart. So use the dunya all you want. Just don't let it in your heart. Your heart is for people, man. Your heart is for Allah. Your heart is for the Prophet ﷺ. Your heart ain't for cars, man. Allah didn't create your heart to love cars. Straight up. You could use the car all you want. Don't mix it up. Use it, man. Sahaba had a lot, man. But don't let it in your heart. That's the key. That's the key. Allah gives tawfiq. Yeah, brother.
So like, how do you, so like, it sounds like, I feel like there's a difference between gratitude and contentment. Like, you can like, say like I live in like a home with like a palm roof and a dirt floor, and like an oven with a brick stove. Like, you can be like thankful, like, oh yes, like I'm happy here, but I still want more. Like, you know, you want something better. You're always gonna want something better. Like,
Yeah, you're always going to want. See, you hit the nail on the head, though. The Prophet ﷺ said if you had 2 valleys of gold, you want a third, right? So the point is you got to start realizing that like getting more is insatiable. The way we're created, it never stops. So there are some people that just keep going, keep going, keep going. They got millions of dollars, sign a contract, I need 20 more mil. But you're actually past the level of like consumption and happiness. Like, you can't get any more benefit out of the next million. Y'all know that whole like equation joint, whatever. Okay. Alright, cool. Like, so my point with both what you're saying is you hit the nail on the head though. Like, you have to find that sweet spot where you have contentment and you have enough for you. Let me give an example. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allahumma ja'al rizqa ali Muhammadin quta. He said, Ya Allah, make the sustenance of my family enough. Qut. Qut means like just enough. I know it's hard to grasp on, but the point is, once you realize you're never going to stop, if you had 2 valleys, I want a third. Once you get that equation in your head, then you start to say to yourself, you know what? Yo, Mikaeel, chill out, man. You're just going to keep going and keep going, keep going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I finally bought a house. What is like 1,900 square feet? I was like, yes, finally. And then I'm driving down the street. I'm like, dang. I mean, 35 is looking nice, yo. Well, what just happened? Well, you just got 2,100 square feet. You was in an apartment before. When does it stop, man? Al-haakum at-takathur hatta zurtumul maqabir. So you gotta find contentment, man. You gotta find contentment. And contentment isn't in things. That's what I'm saying. Contentment isn't in things. Contentment, wallahi, you'll find it in a sajda, yo. It's hard to say that to my young brothers and sisters because it's like, yo, you killing life for me, yo. You're like, yo, I got life ahead of me. Why you squashing it? Why you trying to make it like it's not? I'm not trying to make it like it's not. I'm just trying to tell you like it is. Like the true thing that will give you contentment is that sajda, yo. But yo, talk to me later, yo. Go out and get it all. And then come back like, yo, I feel you now. The car, I got it. I got buyer's remorse. I got married. It was cool. It was fun. Yo, we had a blast. But you know, it's been 30, 40 years now. All right, cool. I got the house. Cool, that was fun. Now what? Now what? Now what? And the imam from the beginning was like, sajda, Allah, 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 Allah. And at the end, you're like, yeah, Allah. All right, here we go. You get what I'm saying? You have to realize that your contentment comes from Allah, man. And there's nothing going to fill that void. There's nothing going to fill... You know, people that are doing all these like opiates and drugs and all that, it's a major problem, by the way, in the Muslim community, bro. But we'll talk about this some other day. They're trying to fill a void, man. They're trying to fill a void. Some people do it with things. Some people do it with drugs. The point is that void, the only thing that is meant to fill your heart. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. But it takes time. It takes maturity to realize that. It takes maturity. Don't get me wrong. You still enjoy life. Like you still enjoy, mashallah, like alhamdulillah. But contentment and true satisfaction, that you realize is just with Allah. I'm gonna get the best car, alhamdulillah. Just use it though. It's not in my heart. If Allah takes it away, cool, take it. I'm good.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, so like a lot of the realizations you've made,
Yeah, go ahead, listen.
yeah, so it seems like it comes from like taking time away just to, you know, do a lot of like self-retrospective like analysis. So I was just wondering like what steps, like you talked about practicality, right? Like what steps can we take, or practical steps?
What I need everyone to do until our next class is this. You need to spend more time by yourself analyzing your heart. You need to take these notes that we just learned right now and start to analyze the movements of your heart. What do I mean movements again? It's not so esoteric. Oh, the movements of my heart. No, what you're thinking about, that's the movement of your heart. If you think about perverted stuff all day, that's the movement of your heart. You gotta like, yo, something's wrong with me, man. I'm getting these crazy thoughts all day, right? If you're thinking about hating on people all day, that's the movement of your heart. You have to notice that first. So right now, the practical step is analyzing ourselves and watching my actions. So I said, look at what you're inclining to. So start to document. What am I choosing over what? Is it Netflix or Isha Salah? Like seriously, that's the one hits us all the time. It's time to go to prayer. I'm watching this Netflix show. I got a choice. When you make a choice, realize that I'm gonna analyze this choice later. Like, what is that indicative of right there? Do you get what I mean? Then the other, my external actions, that's really easy to notice, but the other is the movement of the heart. So what I think we need to do though, is just to be more conscious of our heart and aware of our heart. And that for many of us is like, you went so esoteric. No, it's just about what I'm thinking about. The feelings that come, the things that anger me, the things that make me feel jealous, the things that make me, when do I feel arrogant, and so on and so forth. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I just need you to be more in contact with your heart first. Then in the next class, as we talk about cures, now it's more like, let's take care of that first.
So how do you feel about this whole like mindfulness meditation movement that's going on now?
Meditation, if you say meditation in the masjid, they're going to run you out like bid'ah, get out of here. But the concept of muraqabah and dhikr is meditation. It's the same thing, it's just a different word.
Yeah.
They literally, in TM, Transcendent Meditation, they literally tell you, chant something lightly on your tongue. I'm like, it's dhikr Allah. Allah, Allah, subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. They train people to do this now.
Yeah.
To cure stress, to cure disease, all types of stuff.
But it's all about like awareness. That's what it is, right?
And that's something you're supposed to have as well,
Yeah.
right? So meditation, if you say that word, it's like, oh, astaghfirullah, what's he doing?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's muraqabah, it's tadakkur, it's fikr, it's tadabbur. That's natural. That's part of our tradition. Right? Now, you're not going to sit there and do some weird stuff, right? Keep it the way the Prophet ﷺ did it, right? You know, ba'da salah, sit there, tafakkur, think over yourself, and be conscious of your thought. It's a long topic if we talk about how to do it now, because a lot of us, we sit down, we're like, and now we're just thinking about NFL, like we're just thinking about the game. Like our mind is not, it's not where we want it to be. So you have to actually learn how to focus thoughts on something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that there's different skills you can do for that. One thing is just don't try to move the mind anywhere, but let it just be more free, right? Focus on the moment, focus on your breathing, stuff like that. Focus on the words you're saying. Yes.
So like we all get jealous, we all hate like something.
Yuppers, we're all haters.
Yeah. So like when do you know?
Speak for yourself, bro.
Like when do you know it's a problem? Like it's a problem.
If it comes out. If it comes out, that's a sin. If it's just inside, you got to cure it still. The point is to get it out completely by the time we leave the world. You get what I'm saying? The point is to kill it eventually. But that takes time. But I'm going to at least control it as much as I can, and I'm going to at least recognize it when it pops up. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's very, very important. This is a major problem. And anger is another one. Anger is a major problem in many households, yo. People walk on eggshells around their pops, man. Because he just like dynamite, just a spark. He's smacking people, going crazy and stuff. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That's haram, man. But he's not even aware of his heart's anger. Has no conscience, he's not even aware of it. So we want to stop that. We want to be aware of it. We want to be conscious of our hearts. Yeah. Yes.
I think I saw or heard that if you like think of a bad deed or like think of doing something wrong, just don't do it, you get a good deed instead.
Yeah, you came late, bro. I'm just messing with you. Yes, I'm just messing with you. Yes, you do a good deed. But the point is, it's still indicative of something inside your heart, right? And that thought, you didn't like it, right? So we still want to uproot that thought. Yes? Yes?
So like, let's say that I'm trying to strengthen like my relationship with Allah. So like I can do like dhikr after like salah and stuff like that, right? But after I stop doing dhikr, like my mind kind of gravitates to like other areas.
and like I can't just do dhikr all day.
Mhm.
So how do we go from that stage to like remembering Allah 24/7, like gaining that sense of taqwa?
SubhanAllah, that's such a beautiful question, yo. MashaAllah. The question is beautiful, man. Sa'atan, sa'atan. The Rasul Sallallahu was asked this very same question, that when we're with you, we can see Jannah, we can see the hellfire. Thumma, we go home, afasna al-azwaj wal-awlad, we forget everything. The hadith, the Sahaba said the exact same thing. When we're with you, you're on a whole different level. I can see Jannah. It's right there. But then when I go home, I forget it. It's gone. So Hanzala was like, I'm a munafiq. I'm a munafiq. I'm a munafiq. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, I'm paraphrasing the hadith because of time, he said to him, sa'atan, sa'atan. He said, if you were to stay at that high level all the time, the angels will meet you in the pathways and shake hands with you, dap you up. Like, yo, what's up, yo? Yo. But he said, no, that's not. You're supposed to go up and down. Like, that's dunya. That's by design. Do you understand? But let me give you a practical thing you can do, though. At least if you recite Bismillah or the dua before an action, that's one way to stay in the remembrance of Allah before everything. You get in your car, Bismillah. You walk into class, all right, Bismillah. And no, it's good because you can't say Bismillah before like haram stuff anyway, so it'll keep you in check. So either Bismillah before you do everything will keep you in the remembrance, or the dua before what you're supposed to be doing, right? Example, you going shopping, there's a dua before you go shopping. You read that dua and now you're like, you remembered Allah before you did this action. You understand what I'm saying? But the main thing I need you to understand is that you're never going to stay at that high level continuously. Clear? Alright. Khair, inshallah, we're going to stop now. Inshallah, we have a long drive back to Dallas, inshallah. So, we want to get there at a reasonable time, inshallah. So, I'm going to leave right now, inshallah ta'ala. I hope this class was beneficial for you guys. I know it's deeper content and stuff, but I hope you can appreciate the depth of it and realize that there are things to reflect on and lessons that you can build upon in our lives, inshallah ta'ala. So let's make a quick dua before we end. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك حبك وحب من يحبك وحب عمل يقربنا إلى حبك يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم بارك وسلم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. We ask you, Ya Allah, to guide our hearts, Ya Allah. We ask you to purify our hearts of the sicknesses and diseases that we have, Ya Allah. We ask you to protect us, Ya Allah, and keep us on Sirat al-Mustaqim, Ya Allah, and give us knowledge and actions that are pleasing to you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.